How are you doing? Good. How am I there? I hope I can make a wonderful experience in each mirror of my universe. I'm going to see if I can heal myself by helping myself in each video. It may sound selfish. I'm going to try to make my whole universe be well, in a coherent order. So here I am. Here we are back, having a little talk about consciousness, about that consciousness that has a very close side, which is the body, which is health, and that has an equally close side, but that does not seem so close to us. And it is this, from the body to here, where we call outside the body, and I would call it another layer of the body. The body is the universe, but that's precisely where the debate begins. And what I want to ask for myself today, for my parts, for my universe, we are one being, undoubtedly, we are flowing. And in the debates in which we always find ourselves through the symptom, there are questions that began to be asked in a different way. For example, in the current culture, which I usually call in a global way, Western culture, which is not 100% like that, because in the East there are very distorted things, and in the West there are very connected things. But I refer to the current media-driven gaze, the most widespread one, as the Western perspective, when it comes to topics such as health, consciousness, life in general. A little while ago, even in this view that I call Western, in this term in which I group many things, the symptom began to be seen as less casual. The symptom began to be less casual. In reality, today we have to go through more barriers to define that the symptom was casual, really. Today it is so difficult to continue supporting the idea that symptoms come just because, but a big portion of the people do. What changed is the percentage, and that is an immense achievement in this Mother Earth in which we are all living together. But a change of border is noticeable from my universe, with me being the core and the creator of my universe. A change in that percentage is noticeable. And there arose a new question, which was, then why do we get sick? And that is a long way. Meanwhile, in health matters, talking about the body specifically, a word called stress began to appear, that although it is very far from where we really have to look at, let's say it is an important first step, to say, look, they realize that there is something else that influences biology that is called stress. Let them call it stress, which is a good step. I think that those of us who push from the view of consciousness in the symptoms have to know how to recognize each achievement, each step. That is a very important step. I know that perhaps the followers of these videos would put their hand like this, just like the emoji, and say, are they still calling it stress? Do they still believe that everything is because of being nervous? Well, yes, but we must not forget that we are that other side too, and that when we want to see our things, we say right away, I ate potatoes and they made me sick. And potatoes don't make you sick, nor the bread or the gluten. You have something else than stress. You have a history. And through the arrival of the history and the interpretation of assuming that there was not only stress, calling it stress, but that this field that we could call invisible has 1,000 typologies. And that after that came a more accurate view, a greater opening to the East. And from the question, why do we get sick? We started to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of getting sick? And there the thing got more profound. There things began to get more interesting. What do you mean by, what is the purpose of getting sick? Why will I get sick? I don't want myself sick. And that view appeared again, that the symptom comes as a punishment, that the symptom comes as something that all you have to do is get rid of it, and that it comes to bother me, and it comes just because, and it comes because I have bad luck. That coexistence between the separatist idea of the whole, we could say, I am an entity, and what happens to me happens because I have bad luck. Remember that science calls random what it still does not know how it works. Remember that the complete view and the view of the whole speaks of a totality in movement, in which at most it says, that thing over there, I don't know how it works, but I know it's like this. It knows that there cannot be a loose gear in a perfect watch. Believing in randomness is to believe that I can take a watch, grab a loose gear, and throw it in there and nothing will happen. But the impotence of some branches of knowledge makes them call randomness to what they do not know yet. In the past, surely, the attraction of the celestial bodies was because of randomness. In the past, it was surely said that the rotation around the bodies of greater gravitational field was random. In the past, perhaps the reason why it rained was referred to as random, or it was believed that the reason why a river flowed was random. However, all that went shifting the barrier of randomness, and that went to another place. So the invitation now, from here and in the following videos, would be to explore this question in more depth. What are we sick for? But what I want to ask, and what is going to be the title of these videos that we are going to make from here, and I do not know how long they will last, is, what is the purpose of healing? Which is the question that so far I think it has not been asked, to invite all the Western and non-Western views to see not only what we get sick for, but what is the purpose of healing. Here I am again, reflecting on the question that we left unanswered here. That question, guys, is so profound that it makes two lives, it makes two ways of living reality, of conceiving existence, of conceiving this experience. It is a watershed. First, the casual or non-casual symptom. So, in the totally separated from everything way in which the universe is a set of pieces that work by chance all with all. Because if one is casual, the rest must be too. Because how do you accommodate a universe that has certain casual licenses within perfection and universal synchronicity? So it is difficult. It's more difficult the middle point that states that in the universe there are some random things, than that in the universe everything is random or nothing is random. So we have to choose one. And given that we have already discovered that in the universe there are many things that are not casual, that part would be, from my point of view, difficult to justify or defend. So I lean towards the viewpoint that says there is nothing casual in the universe. But when one wants to look at the symptom as something that randomly got to me, that I have bad luck, that my neighbor has better luck, or the people I see have better luck, if I ask, what is the purpose of healing? The answer would be obvious. It would be, what for am I going to heal? Don't you know how much it bothers me to have shoulder pain? I want to heal so I don't have shoulder pain and I can continue with my life. That purpose of symptom speaks of that purpose of life. I interpret that the symptom comes to me by chance, to annoy me, it bothers me, it makes me uncomfortable, and therefore the only thing I want is to get rid of it and continue with my life with the same direction that I came from. And that is where one often passes close to the logic of the symptom. And maybe he did not see it, and again, and life gets complicated and more complicated. And sometimes one reaches paths of consciousness after many things, and realizes later, much to his or her regret. For example, after having consumed kilos and kilos of pills and no longer having some organs and having an implant and all those things, maybe out of boredom, he begins to see things and begins to understand and begins to realize why he is missing that organ or why they put this on him. But it goes beyond whether one understands it or not. Here there are different views. Then the next thing would be, what is the purpose of healing? already in the universe in which the symptom is not casual, in all currents of what we call spirituality, and that sometimes is found in my universe. At least I see it as spiritual incoherence, to call it in some way. And conscious bioexistence does not come to tell anyone what is wrong with what he or she is doing. But when you become aware through your biology what existence and the human experience are, you realize that there are many things that maybe you did yourself, that maybe I did myself, as part of spiritual paths, and that they are very incoherent. And that has to do with the I am, and that although all the time you talk and you think in terms of I am, you say I am. And then you realize that you are the one who has to heal, not him. You told him thousands of times to go to a consultation. It is a very common mistake. And then we enter enormous, immense, profound debates like forgiveness, to whom, if I am the whole, like asking for forgiveness, to whom, if I am the whole, like healing someone. You being a consultant either from a Mano Puente or from some therapy, and you believe that you healed someone in your life. To whom, if I am the whole, who am I giving these videos to? If I am the whole, why do I say what I say in the videos? And I say, I am giving this video to myself. But I want to give it to myself because I want all my parts to be conscious. There is a direction in the whole, and although it does not seem, and it seems that it has nothing to do with what I am proposing about the symptom, and what is the purpose of getting sick, and what is the purpose of healing. That framework is part of a whole that gives logic even to the reason for healing. A person who enters the emotional field, in the field of emotions and biology, is going to notice an immense difference in the reason for which he healed compared with what he had been seeing before. He saw that the reason for which he healed was mechanical. That is, the gallbladder bothers me, take it out. Am I low on vitamin B? Give it to me. I have high blood pressure. Give me something to loosen the arteries. I have a lack of sodium. Let me incorporate it from outside. I take sodium supplements. Until one begins to see that behind that first little word that was called stress, and that it was like a great mountain that did not let me see. It had herbs inside, and this one was used for this. This other one is used for this. And there were messages. This was used for this, and this was used for that. And in that debate, and in that inner talk that one starts having and starts becoming conscious, one says, so what for did I heal? We are analyzing the least profound of possibilities. What is the least profound of possibilities? The symptom is casual. The only thing I want is that in the same way it came, it goes away. In the second, and I repeat, the least profound of all these possibilities that follow is that a symptom is originated by an emotion. But Pablo, how is that the least profound? Yes, in this part it is the least profound. Because let's see, I came with a certain life. Suddenly a symptom appears. I discovered that behind there was an emotion. I release those emotions, or I become aware of those emotions. More raw still, I don't even release them. I don't even express them in my universe. And I heal. There, as I said, I am going to notice a huge difference. But what? Did I get a symptom in order to express an emotion that had remained unexpressed, and to heal myself? Is that what the symptom came for? Well, there too the conclusion can end up leaving a taste of dissatisfaction. And it does, because just as it was casual, and I solved it in a mechanical, surgical, chemical way, here a symptom came, I released an emotion, I already realized that it is not stress, it is that story and that emotion, I released it and the symptom was solved. And then I'm going to feel amazed. I'm going to say, wow, how immense. This symptom came to tell me that I had an emotion stored. How great. How asleep I was. So symptoms are because of emotions. Yes, but there, did your life change? I don't think so, and if it did, it was very little, because the symptom comes for something much more immense. So, what is the purpose of healing? To get rid of a symptom. First point, to release an emotion. Second point, let's keep traveling. This is a wonderful journey that leads, like everything, to the awakening of consciousness, which until now in this approach has not happened. It has not been happening in the first nor in the second. Let's see how it continues. Good morning. Here I am with the next step of this beautiful, beautiful path of allowing a symptom to show us the other world, to show us that we are asleep. That entering the depth of the symptom allows us to discover that we simply didn't heal more things because we didn't know they existed, that all those things existed. And if I open the door to the symptom to allow it to send me a message, the symptom will show a whole universe of things that now I will be interested in healing. I simply didn't heal them because I didn't know them, because they don't belong to the sensory world, to the only world that is recognized in this part of the world, but they belong to the other world that connects me with the deepest part of myself. And then a different definition of healing will exist for each state of consciousness, and none of them would be wrong. As I say in more than one book, if I remember correctly, everyone is right, we are all right, all people are right, but they are right for their state of consciousness. The problem is when you are right and things don't seem to be going well for you. I think it is in the third or fourth book that I publish a phrase by Mark Twain that says, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble, it's what you know for sure that just ain't so." And that happens with healing and the depth of the soul. So we have been making a path now so as not to repeat, because in the previous video I could not tell you much, because there were things left to say about the previous ones. The first, healing with traditional healing, till surgery, all of that is very good. Again, it is very good. The second, healing with something else, but something that is external to me. It doesn't matter if it is a stone, a drop, a brew, a branch, herbs. It is external to me. The third, wow, I entered an invisible world that is huge. It turns out that my knee hurt. I recognized a series of emotions that I had kept inside in my life about a certain topic. And here comes something immense. It is not stress. Your knee hurts. It's because you have stress. Don't you have a pancreas? It's because you have stress. Do you have skin problems? It's because you have stress. Are you nervous? It's because you have stress. No, no. The stress that causes the knee pain cannot be the same one that causes the eczema, or my nervousness, or my anxiety. Don't you think there is more than one stress? Could it be that what we call wine actually has Bonarda, Malbec, Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc, and many varieties, and each variety is for each thing. There is always a greater level of depth. So we got to the one of emotions. There a huge field was opened. Look, my knee hurt, and since I went to a bio-emotional decoding session or other therapy, I realized that my knee started to hurt precisely in a wonderful moment. And it was when my daughter asked me if I could take care of her son, my grandson. Could there be anything happier than a grandmother taking care of her grandchild? But right there my knee started to hurt. But well, I hadn't realized deep inside myself that she asked me that when I was 50 years old. And when I got to the real depths with an exercise that they made me do, I realized that in reality, in addition to taking care of my grandson, I had been waiting for this moment for a long time, because it was the age that I had already organized with my friends that we were free because the children had already left, and they were planning a trip. And finally they all went on a trip, and I stayed to take care of my grandson. But taking care of your grandson is beautiful. Don't tell me it's not. That is the conscious side. My symptoms showed me that in my unconscious mind there was something I was doing for others and not for myself. There was something I was doing out of obligation and not for myself. There was something I was doing for them to love me and not for myself. There was something I was doing so that my daughter would not get mad at me and not for myself. And the need, which comes directly from the biological unconscious mind, which is absolutely wise and selfish, said, "No, you want to go on a trip. You know that you can take care of your grandson later. But don't worry, this way that you have of not seeing it, of not recognizing that that happens to you, is not because of this. It's because of what happened to you at the age of 25, or because it happened to you at a certain point in your life. I don't understand. How at my 25? Oh, when I was 25 years old, I wanted to go on a trip with some friends. We had finished our degree at college, and my dad has a problem at the family shop. He falls, breaks his hip, and tells me if I can stay at the shop. But he is my dad, and that's the shop of the family. How can I not stay? Yes, that's the conscious side. But your friends were going on a trip, just like now, you see, and you stayed to take care of the shop. And there is a selfish side of you that doesn't want to stay to take care of the shop. You do it for others, even if you feel that there is no other, it doesn't matter. Let's express the emotions that are inside, or let's identify them. I'm talking about the first current. Identify them. You don't need to express them. Let's go back to when you were 12 years old. What happened? Yes, I remember. There, my mom also has an accident. At this point, I'd said, "Oh look," several times. What a coincidence. When I was 25, my dad has an accident. When I was 12, my mom has an accident. What a coincidence. And since my mom has an accident, she stays in the hospital for 3 months, and I can't go with my classmates from elementary school on a trip, a little graduate trip that they did for only 2 days, because I stayed to take care of my brothers. Oh, just like now my daughter asks me to take care of her children. I can't believe it. What a coincidence. How crazy everything is, how we repeat things. And there I release the emotions of this. I release the emotions of this other. I release the emotions of that. And my knee pain is gone. From the perspective of the first universe, it is magically gone. But in this approach in which I recognized that I kept all that to myself and that I released it, a huge door was opened, which is the door to the existence of invisible and immeasurable things that I have inside my body, that I have inside my being, and that surely creates my reality. Because how did I get this to happen to my mother at double my age, and that other thing to happen to my father at double my age? I have them inside me, and when I released them, this changed, the symptom went away. Well, I invented the emotional pill, I invented the emotional implant, I invented an emotional knee implant. The point is that the knee healed, but I didn't change my life there. I didn't change my life. Is it likely that I have learned? Yes, a little bit more to say no. Maybe I call my daughter and tell her, "I can't take care of the baby. I can help you, but I can't take care of him. I'm going on a trip with my friends." That already makes a small change, but what is called change in your life is still missing. What is called profound and the purpose of a symptom is still far away. What happens is that from here, as you are seeing, I still don't know it, so I can't pretend to heal what I don't know exists, as it happened in the first stage relative to the emotional one. The first stage cannot heal the emotional because it does not know that it exists. The emotional one cannot heal others because it does not know that they exist. So we will see. Let's continue on this didactic path that I would tell you is for everyone. Consultants, the general public, and therapists in general. Let's go a little deeper and go to what I mentioned not in the previous video, but in the one before that, the fact that someone suddenly begins to realize that the emotions that she carried in her life. For example, the case of the knee that I told earlier. It turns out that this person takes a more profound path and realizes that she has the same emotional model that reigned in the maternal uterus. The emotional model of this person regarding the knees, in which she is letting go of her own desires in order to be loved, to avoid being left out of the clan. to be recognized is precisely what was present in the maternal womb. And there comes one more leap of consciousness. One says, wow, how can it be that I repeated exactly what gave me life as a result in my mother's womb? But how is it that I did it? If I am not the one who defines the name of the people around me, how can it be? If my mother did it, how can it be that in my mother's womb was the lack of self-appreciation to be loved and she gave up on herself? My mother got pregnant with me at the age of 22 and gave up on her career because she was pregnant. And that renunciation of my mom on wanting what's her own is what I repeated throughout my life. That's why today I have my knee the way I have it. So what was a frustration and a non-acknowledgement for my mother because she said, well, after all, I give up my career because I got married, and my husband told me that he preferred him to work and for me to take care of the children, and that God stopped there and she kept it for herself. She thought it was something good, but deep down she kept an emotion, and what did that continue inside, and I wrapped myself in it, and I was born to keep emotions to myself. Yes, welcome. You are entering a deeper dimension of the symptom, which is the one that connects you with something no longer contemporary. That is to say, matters that are apparently prior to you. You will always be between quotation marks because you are the whole. So your mother is you, your ancestors are you, Alpha Centauri is you, the Orion Belt is you, my dog Jake is you, I am you. Because if we are the whole, we must always make the greatest effort possible to stay and look at things from the perspective that we are the whole. But in this didactic game, and in the Western incomplete view that says that your life is from here to here, and what is here? It is your conception. But what about before that? There is nothing. Here one discovers, thanks to emotion, that one gets into a package that transcends that barrier. And the symptom makes you connect with the fact that you are the continuation of what your mother kept deep inside. Even though at this moment you may feel that you don't get along well with your mother, that you have not had the mother you wanted, that you felt maybe something stronger still, positive or what we call negative about your mother. There is something that is inevitable and that I can tell you for thousands of cases of experience. And that is that you are the continuation of the emotions that your mother kept for herself. And that begins to be discovered by those who analyze the maternal environment and those who go beyond the barrier of what we call contemporary life. Because when one begins to analyze that, one says, well, but wait, my contemporary life is also the maternal uterus, because I grew up there. Yes, but the people we take there in an exercise discover that the emotions that are reigning in the uterus include the complete history of mom. So it's mom's history, emotions stored in the uterus, and me passing through that uterus to collect mom's stored emotions, to go out and create a life, to go out and make an experience. So now, having that re-encounter in a conscious way with your mother's emotions, and seeing that even if you hate her or love her, you are the continuation of the emotions that she kept stored at an unconscious level, even though consciously it seems to you the opposite. At an unconscious level, those emotions that were stored are the ones that determine that your symptoms will continue. So there come those who have done it, the thousands who do it per day, because having more than 4,000 Humano Puente consultants, of which some attend one person per day, but others attend 4, and some do not attend every day. They attend twice a week, but others attend 4 people per day. So on average, 2 consultations per day may be taking place per consultee all over the world. We are at about 8,000 people practically per day who are doing all these processes. And those people who are already going to the uterus of their mother already experience a new state of consciousness and say, wow, I just understood what happened to my mother. But be careful, because what is happening in this part that I tell you is not the emotional approach of just the talk. Tell me what happened to your mother when she was pregnant with you and a little before being pregnant with you, because there is an identification and there is a logic. Oh, yes, now I know. Getting into the unconscious mind in an exercise is different. Remember that the great world is accessed only by closing our eyes in a guided exercise. And there someone literally travels in present because the present moment is eternal and all the moments are present and you can go to all of them. Travels in this apparent, in this illusion of time to that place and realizes that, after all, the same pains that his mother kept to herself are happening in his life. But there is another part, and there is a dissociated approach that can also be done. In the same way I talk and I say, tell me what happened to your mother when she was pregnant and before. My mother told me this. She didn't tell me the other, but I don't know if she hides something from me because I don't think what she said is so. There is not a deep encounter, maybe there is, but what we are doing is an ascending scale on this journey. And the same thing happens when the transgenerational appears. And this is a new immense leap of consciousness. And there are unconscious patterns, data that I carry that I realize that it relates me to certain ancestors. There I am talking about an experience 100% prior to mine, 100% prior to this contemporary. I am talking about the life of my grandfather. I am talking about the life of my great-grandmother. I am talking about the life of my mother. I am talking about the life of my grandmother, of my great-grandfather, and certain patterns that in principle were initially found by the hand of Nicholas Abraham, Maria Torak, Anne Schutzenberger, Franco Esdotto, and many others that have made a leap that we could now call dimensional in what a symptom is. And it is when you realize that your symptom, if you remember, this started in a mechanistic way, and I am already taking dimension that it is related to what happened to the lives of certain ancestors. Not all, because attention, I am in the transgenerational part. I have not yet reached the very deep part. It is related to certain ancestors that have patterns that your unconscious mind takes. And that takes that data in a strong way. Because, for example, you have the same name as one of your ancestors, or you have a related date, or you have the same activity, or the physical resemblance, or you were born on the day of his saint, and those things. There you already begin to grasp the magnitude of who you are, which is greater than what you carry and greater than what your existence is. So, am I the continuation of what that grandfather left incomplete? And I am the result by compensation or by repetition of what happened to him? And the answer is yes, always yes. Wow, I thought that the symptom came by chance and I am going to histories 100 years before me, 50 years, 30 years before me. Yes, that's how it is. And I am the continuation of that. That is to say that my emotional package, after all, is prior to me. Is what I am seeing now that big? Yes, that's right. The emotional package is prior to you. So then, will I not be here to heal the emotional package? There you start having doubts. Good morning. How are you doing? Here I continue, now with the participation of Jake, who is there, unidirectional with his view, observing the ducks, and with wind chimes in the background and the sun getting warmer in the morning, as I progress in the videos, and the birds singing and some clouds that look like little feathers. What a beauty the existence on earth is, and some flies that become transparent as the light of the sun goes through them. They look like little gray dots that fly. The experience on earth is impressive. And being able to be here under a willow house like when we were children. We always have to feed the unconscious mind, or at least I do it, so that it continues to feel like a child. We continue from the previous video. Again, I recommend that you watch all the previous videos. I think there are 4 or 5 before this one. We are going on a journey through the depth of the symptom, and of not being able to heal what I do not consider to exist. And we already arrived in the previous video from the merely mechanical method in all its forms, both natural and non-natural, that is, from the stones and the drops, even shamanic ones, to the clone spam. until becoming aware that I am not only a contemporaneity, but that I seem to be the continuation of something. But there is something, and these last ones that I named from the emotional to this one that I have been naming are already part of the humano-pointed path. The previous ones don't, none of them. But I do not consider that they are wrong, as well as I do not consider that the diets are wrong. It is a fascinating and wonderful subject, but it is mechanical, it is external to me. The fault cannot be of the potato, neither of the carbohydrate, nor of the gluten, nor of the protein. There has to be something within me that explains why, while everyone else processes the protein successfully, I don't. And that something is what we are looking for. Then from the emotional side, when I start to connect with the history and I go towards the profound, there I am already within what I call the humano-pointed path. But it has to be clear that I have not reached the deep yet, because the big question that germinates within a person walking the path of profound healing has not yet emerged. So far, up to what I mentioned, that is, I released the emotions. I talked to my mother about what happened in her uterus, and in the previous stage and what happened to her in her life. Some members of my family told me about such grandmother, such grandfather. I got dates, I got data. I was able to build the tree, and in a dissociated way. That is, here I am, there they are. Through that dissociated way, I began to understand that I have a relationship with that past. But there is something that happens in an increasing way in this period. But it is very likely that people do not even notice it, because by not being connected with their ability to be creators, they may not even notice that their life could already be beginning to change in some aspects. I arrived because of a symptom. I arrived because of my knees. In the first methods, my life does not change. In the emotional, when I release my personal part, it's very likely that my life either won't change or will change very little, to the extent that I may not even notice it. When I begin to connect with the deep fact of being the continuation of what happened to my mother, my life begins to change a little more, but as it is imperceptible, it does not change my consciousness about what I am changing either. When I begin to connect with the existence of my ancestors, my life changes a little more, but many times I do not realize it, especially if I arrive from a casual universe. I will not realize it here, because I haven't grasped the concept yet that I can change anything in my reality beyond the physical symptom that I came to change. I did not do that yet. It is not in my possibilities. Yes, very well. I released the emotions and I recognized that the knee pain calmed down. Yes, I connected with what happened to my mother in her uterus, and I honestly felt closer to her. It is more, now that I realize, from there I started getting along a little better with my mother. She changed a lot. It must be casual. My mother is much better. It is more, I tell her, you have to do this, you have to do that. Those phrases are guarantees that I did not realize that I am the creator of my mother. But I went deeper, and I came to recognize myself because I got the pieces of information. My aunt had everything stored, and also my grandpa, who was a genealogist, got me the family tree up to the year 1500. That is so interesting. Tell me about the life of this great-great-grandfather. I have no idea. I don't know anything about him. Oh, okay, well, there we have a limit. And what do you know about your mother? Very little. My mother is very quiet, very shy. There we have a limit. And what do you know about this grandfather's parents? No, the parents of this grandfather were unknown by my family. It seems that the first data we have is that they lived in Granada and that he came here alone, and we do not know anything else. Okay, there is an obstacle there, and it is that from this external part, I cannot access information that usually ends there. Many people arrive here, or maybe they do not even make the humano-pointed path because they believe that if they do not have data, they cannot do it. And of course, they can do it. Why? Because we haven't yet reached the most profound part. The most profound thing that a symptom has to offer you is just beginning to appear here. Look at everything we talked about. Look at the whole universe that is not known from the mechanical side. And therefore it will never be considered here that this must be healed because no one considers that this exists. What we are seeing that exists is this small particle next to an infinite universe. And from the viewpoint of this small particle, it will never be considered that this infinite universe must be healed. And therefore, since that is not considered, here life does not change. And here life does not change. And here life does not change. And here it changes so little that I do not even realize that it is changing. And the same here. And here a little more, and here a little more. Until what? Until I start to realize in one more step. Here we already passed the proposal of bioemotional decoding, which we teach in the opening number 1 in Humano Puente. And we are entering a greater universe, which is to turn inwards and get inside the unconscious mind of my mother, and literally living her life, with all the images of what happened to her, with everything she suffered, with all the things, releasing her emotions, me being her. In the same way I released in my timeline, and in my contemporary life the knee issues. Now I am going to her apparent life, and I release in present, living her life in an exercise, her emotions. That is called reoric sins. And then I do the same with each of my ancestors, whether I know them or not, whether I have been told about them or not. In reoric sins, that is no longer a problem because as I am all my ancestors, I will be able to travel to all the data of those I know, of those I do not know, of people who lived thousands of years ago, and who I do not even know if they are related to me. In reoric sense, you can travel to the life of people you do not know, to the life of people who in theory are not in your family tree, to the life of symptoms that the neighbor has. That is why it is called reoric sins with the third party. And what does start to grow there is, hey, I am doing this and there is something that is happening and that I cannot deny. My life is changing. My life is changing. I started to get along better with my son. My economy is different. This person, whom I hadn't seen for 30 years, I worked on the emotions related to the fight that we had and he just called me on the phone. He reappeared. And here is where a new Big Bang occurs, which is the one that we are going to talk about in the next video. And it is that one enters, thanks to that knee pain, to the doubt first, to a greater certainty afterwards, and finally to the total certainty that we are creators. And that is where the symptom is beginning to fulfill its objective. We are going to that in the next video. I love you. Thank you for becoming aware of these things. How are you doing? Listen to the song of the chimangos, of the birds. Today I am in a forest, as every now and then. You may have seen videos in which I am in a little forest, enjoying and coexisting with the pine trees, with that smell of the forest and the wet barks, because last night it rained, and the barks of some poplar trees and some pines come off. Everything is wet. The moisture of the forest is such a beautiful thing that I hope that everyone can live it. And last night it rained, so today with the movement of the wind some drops are falling. Thank you for being there. I am already in another place, not in my usual house, but enjoying, in another way, my permanent vacations. So I am recording because one on vacation takes the opportunity to do what one likes to do. So I will continue doing what I do. What a beautiful trip that we are making together about what is the purpose of healing. What is the purpose of healing? I thought that healing was taking a medicine or doing a diet or taking some drops, flowers, or putting magnets or a pendulum or whatever, or energy. Because I thought that healing was that what came to bother me had to go away. But it seems that healing was something else. Healing indicated to me then, after this path that we are making, that there was some emotion that I had kept inside and now I could identify it. Maybe if I do something more profound, I can release it. All this is what we have been seeing. Watch it in the previous videos. And maybe if I do something deeper, I can realize that I repeated it throughout my life. Wow, how incredible. It turns out that the symptoms come from stored emotions. Yes, they also do, in the first instance in which there are different ways of healing with something foreign to your interior. They also do. It is incredible, and you can heal yourself, but you can heal that concept of symptom or disease. You have a symptom or disease concept, that is, something came to bother me and I have to get it out so that my life continues as it came. It doesn't matter if it was good or not, as it came. Something like, my knee hurts because I don't even realize that I'm doing things that I don't like to do. And I need the pain of my knee to go away so that I can continue doing things that I don't like to do. And the symptom is so much more generous than that, that it tells you, look further back, further back. Then you go and look for an emotion. You find the emotions of the knee. Wow, I released the emotions of the knee, and the knee stopped hurting, at least for a while. Well, but I have news for you, that healing is going within oneself, the minor of the depths of healing. If it is only biological, only neurological, and only emotional, it is the minor of the depths of healing. But why? Because the symptom comes for something else. What happens is that since you do not know it, you are not seeing it. And it is that you realize now that the emotions that you carry are emotions prior to you. Look, let's go to your mother in a very simple exercise. It lasts an hour. Let's go to your mother. Not from the narrative. My mom told me this, my mom said that. You don't need data. You don't need anything. You are your mother. Your cells not only have your history, you are the history of humanity. And you are going to realize that your symptom had already been traveling through your mother, and it had already been traveling through your father. I am always saying mother for a biological reason, but of course it also came from dad, especially if there are certain unconscious relationships with dad. So that you realize that your symptom has a history that is prior to you. But wait, let's go to the ancestors, because your mother is a search for logic and repair of what happened before. And maybe someone already more deeply says, but I just realized that I now do all the things without feeling like it, because my mother gave up on herself throughout her life and did things without feeling like it. And when I was in her womb, my cells were programmed to make a life doing things without feeling like it. But my symptom knows all that, otherwise how would it indicate me that it is wrong? My symptom is telling me that is wrong, you can fix it, you can be happy. Your life is created from you so that you obey to that belief, and so that you heal the old history that made your mother give up on her, and your father give up and made all their histories be here today. And where is the key? You are going to see that the key is in something that happened the other way around in your history. In your history above, grandparents. Look how far you are getting. First ibuprofen, flowers, the diet to lose weight and lower the weight on the knee, or to generate more cartilage on the knee. All that is very good. This is not a criticism of that. All that is very good. But what happens is that everyone has a different concept of what healing is. So I go on, I got to that place, and I already realized that up there was someone who did not do things for others, who did not do things according to others. But also there was an anti-biological event there. For example, someone who abandoned his children, according to the clan's account, for his own convenience, the one who did not take care, the one who left, the bad one, the one who had another family, the one who had other children, the one who became a father through abuse. All of those have a label, like a barcode in your unconscious mind, and your unconscious mind goes there, did, bip, like what a white blood cell would do, or like one of the bacteria in the intestine that recognizes it and doesn't even want to see it. It wants to take it out, it wants to kill it. And it turns out that your symptoms tell you, go, it's time for you to listen to the bad guy. But what do you mean by the bad guy? Yes, he is the father of your great-grandfather. He is your great-great-grandfather. That is the one who abandoned your great-grandfather. And that is why everyone below has been programmed not to look like him. I'm going to do everything in excess. I'm going to do everything in yang, because of that yin that there was of a father. And you are going to work there, and until you get there, a lot of consultations, and days would pass until you realize that each of the good ones and the abandoned ones are you. And here the transgenerational no longer exists. The transgenerational has not existed for a long time, because that is the next less profound step of healing. Here what exists is to recognize that you are all the members of your clan, not the double, the recumbent, the one that resembles by date, by name, by profession, by saint's calendar, and all those steps that are necessarily didactic. There you work and work on all the good ones that were left there and everyone who judged them, and you understand the good one and the bad one, until at a certain moment a circuit is closed, the good one understands the bad one understands the good one, and both realize that they are the other, and that the universe makes. Just like Coco, the movie, what a good example that movie is, and it is at that moment where you grab your head and you say, am I the one who abandoned my children? That's why now I do everything for them and I can't tell them no. Am I the one who suffered that? That's why I suffered so much that now I can't say no. Am I an abandoned and an abandoner individual for 4 generations? Am I a bad guy and a good guy? Am I the yin and the yang of this history? I say it while the trees cry with happiness. And the answer is yes. And when you leave that circuit, you start to realize that your son changed, that your daughter changed, that your father changed, that your economy changed, that the neighbors changed, and that the symptom is just beginning to smile, that the symptom begins to say, you realized you are the creator of everything. Will you dare to continue? And we will solve that in tomorrow's video. I love you and I send you a hug. I continue in this little forest with the doves, now doves, a while ago chimangos. Those doves, here they are called torcasas. Surely in other countries from which you are watching they have other names. Here the big pigeon is called Paloma montera. It's the pigeon that is from the mountains, which is usually very dark gray. Then there is the torcasita, ear dove. The ear dove is a pigeon that I don't know if it is in many places. It is a smaller dove, and it is the one that makes. And with my children, I laugh a lot at that pigeon song. With Nico, we always liked it. Did you see that in the end, the knee pain, what was coming to invite you to, was that deep down when you do your own work, your symptom disappears because there is no room for the symptom in the life of someone who healed this history. Please, if you are watching this video as the first video, it is essential that you watch the 6 or 7 previous videos that are called What is the Purpose of Healing? Because what I am trying to share in these videos is the awareness that the human being will always find the concept of healing based on the concept of symptom that he has, or of purpose in life that he has. And here we arrive, after having gone through everything, to the point in which the symptom began to make you realize that to the extent that you are finding the circuit of the history that you created to heal it, science and spirituality reunite. Like everything in the deep, they become one. They become something unique. The hundreds of doctors who are in Humano Puente are not here because they are crazy. And the hundreds of people who come from spiritual paths to Humano Puente are not here because they are crazy. And the same is true for the dozens, at least, of homeopaths, of osteopaths, architects, lawyers, priests, nuns, biologists, neonatologists, police officers, housewives, workers in general of different things, because in this scale of healing that I am naming, what there is an agreement that we are all inside these scales of healing, and we all are, the one who wants to open his mind and the one who does not want to open his mind. We are all there. It is like talking about the universe. We are in one of the most wonderful instances that time can give us. We are at the moment when I discovered that my symptom contains my history, my equation to solve, and it is my key to do it. The symptom had all that. The symptom comes for me to heal my history. for me to heal my human experience, so that I realized when I arrived at the end, when the thread of Ariadne had a sign that says, "You are in the center of your labyrinth, you did it. Look, all the walls of the labyrinth fall down, and where there were only walls, now there is only free space to create." And that point is known by very few people on earth. Those who have followed their symptom until the end know it. Those few who understand me on earth. After all, the symptom comes for you to say, "How is it possible that I worked on my mother and the relationship with my son changed? How is it possible that now I understood why my grandmother treated my dad like that, and the relationship with my dad changed and also other aspects changed? For example, that I am better at my job. What does that have to do with that? Don't worry about that. See what happens with the universe." Remember that Newton first saw how the apple fell and later understood why. So take it easy. Start to marvel at the fact that you do things inside yourself and things happen in your apparent exterior. And at the beginning you say, "Is this my symptom? Is this because of what I did? It can't be." So what do you need for that? A group of people. That is why the humano-pointic consultants have a group on a social network where they are thousands, and see that all this happens every day to the clients and to themselves doing this path. They are not humano-pointic consultants because they are masochists, or because they love to receive people with problems, or with symptoms or life problems. They do it because biology forces you to do things for your convenience, because biology is coherent with the origin. But let's continue. You continued. You understood now your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandmother, your children, and your economy begins to change. And you didn't have a house, and now suddenly you have a house. And at this point your mind is blown and you say, "What is happening? What is happening? What is happening?" What is happening is that the human being fell asleep thousands of years ago. What is happening is that I have not found any path on earth that takes you from the logic of the symptom until you recognize that you are a creator. But that also gives you the method. That also gives you the logical way to discover who you are. Because the problem of spirituality on earth, as I write in some books and I am writing a lot in this one, the creator's economy is didactics. There are, on the one hand, a whole series of gurus, or very profound spiritual teachers who are wonderful, who I love and have admired a lot, but that do not give you a method, or at least I have not found until now the way to get to this that I just mentioned in these videos. And on the other end, there is a whole series of proposals of what they call healing, that never take you to the union where you are the creator of everything in your reality. You are the key to discover that you are, as you were told, the Alpha and the Omega, that you are the whole, you are the apocalypse and the Genesis, you are the healer and the healed, you are the disease and the healing, you are the bad guy and the one who hurt him, you are the good guy and the one who hurt him. So the symptom comes to that. The symptom comes so that as you solve your life equation, you discover yourself as the creator on earth, but it is your own path. If you have an ingrown nail, your deepest healing path is called ingrown nail. Your thread of Ariadne is called ingrown nail. And if you have pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, gallbladder cancer, that is your thread of Ariadne. And if you have an eczema, that is your thread of Ariadne. And if you have economic problems, that is your thread of Ariadne. And if you have relationship problems with your partner, that is your thread of Ariadne. And if you are unfaithful, or someone was unfaithful to you, that is your thread of Ariadne. If you became a young widow, that is your thread of Ariadne. If you have pain because your children do not talk to you, or because one of your children has become estranged from you, that is your thread of Ariadne. Earth's thread of Ariadne is called suffering. It is called that inner thing that you have in your heart that tells you, this cannot be, this cannot continue. If it is said, and the great masters were right when they told me that I am the creator of everything, that I am what some people call God, how is it that I am doing things that I do not like on earth? Why do I have a scarce economy? Why can't I access what he accesses? Why do I see them in my universe? You create them in your universe so that they show you what you are capable of. And your symptom, that I tell you, is not only physical, but any discomfort in your life has the solution. You are the creator on earth. That is the purpose of healing, so that you discover that you are nothing more nor nothing less than what you call God, the whole, the universe, the creator, and the created on earth. That every humano-pointed consultation is taken there. That every humano-pointed consultant takes you there. Demand him or her to take you there. Do not allow your symptom to heal before you discover that you are the creator. A hug. See you, friends.